Okay. Afternoon, everyone. Okay, before I start, I would like to do a sound check. Okay, if you can hear me, can you comment a good? We're just going to do a sound check before we start. So if you can hear me loud and clear, can you comment a good for me? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, sound check. For a start, can you comment a good for me if you can hear me loud and clear? Okay, a few goods. Okay. Right. Okay. Then it's loud and clear. Okay, let's start then. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pearly from Student Affairs Department, Zadi College, Kuala Lumpur. Okay. Welcome to today's webinar. Our webinar title, Welcome to the New Normal. Okay. All right. So we have a webinar in collaboration with foodpanda. Okay, we have invited a very handsome speaker, okay, to speak for you. He is the head of people and culture from foodpanda Malaysia. He is Mr. Ajay. So what he's going to share with you today is the how you can safely adapt to the new normal. The top 3 lessons that all leaders have to know. And you're going to share a little bit on what and who is foodpanda, right? So without taking more time, let me invite Mr. Ajay in. Okay. Hi, Mr. Ajay. You're in.
Hey, Pearl. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's quite a nice Friday afternoon, I think.
Great. That's great. So, okay. Okay. People, can you hear Mr. Ajay loud and clear? If you can you give him a 2 good? Can you comment 2 goods for him?
Put up a
thumbs up. Yeah. Let me see if we can all hear. Okay. Let me see if there's any goods. All right. Okay, I think they can hear you. So would you like to start to go into your slides?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so as Paul has introduced me earlier, my name is Ajay. I head the People and Culture Division of foodpanda Malaysia. Today we're going to speak about 3 different. We're going to speak about foodpanda briefly, and then we're going to speak about the new norm as well as what leaders and job seekers will basically need to what the new requirements would be, and what in our opinion is the right way moving forward. Yep. So without wasting any time, I'm going to start by sharing my slides. All right. So once again, our presentation today is called Welcome to the New Normal. And this is going to be based on 3 main areas: an introduction of foodpanda, key lessons learned as a leader, as well as what reinventing the new norm basically means for all of us: employers, employees, job seekers, everyone, and anyone who's affected by the employment and economic landscape. So by way of introduction, as you all know, foodpanda, basically, we are the undisputed #1 food service delivery people across Asia Pacific and other countries. Our goal is not just to deliver food to you, we bring it, always going the extra mile to make your food delivery experience memorable. Yes, granted that, some of us may have had experiences which weren't very fun, but hey, this happens with almost everything and anything, right? But what's important is that our goal is to go over and above and always strive to deliver to the best of our ability. Yeah. So foodpanda, as you know, delivers 24 hours a day. During the lockdown and MCO, we had to sort of subscribe and comply with the government requirements. But it was always making sure that we were able to deliver while everyone remained at home was our main priority. foodpanda basically has about 10 million subscribers, active subscribers. We are existent in both Peninsula as well as East Malaysia. 70% of our covered cities use only foodpanda, as you will see from this page. We have more than 20,000 restaurants on board on our platform, and we have more than 20,000 riders who basically are what we refer to as frontliners, who are making sure that everyone's receiving their food on time in the comfort of their own homes. Key lessons as a leader. I think the COVID-19 has been a very interesting time for a lot of us, both with regards to the positive and negative. However, as is life, and like with everything, there's always a lesson, and it's really a matter of how we're going to view it. So
Hi, Ajay.
yes, can you hear
I'm
me?
sorry to interrupt. Your slides, it's not visible.
Okay. Is it visible now?
No.
Can you see my slide now?
Right. Awesome. It's on now.
Yeah?
I'll leave it to you.
All right. Okay. So going back to the key lessons as learned as leaders collectively from foodpanda, at least, yeah. I guess what's very important is understanding, number one, that our people are super agile. People are very, very flexible. We are all able to basically work from wherever we are. And for as long as the right facilities that are provided to your workforce, then people will be able to perform from the comfort of their own homes while being entirely safe. And to one of the most important things to make sure that your people are agile over and above like the facilities, like good data, a good computer and stuff, would be trust. So trust is very, very important to make sure that we can successfully engage in what is the new norm, while we work from the comforts of our own homes, for instance. So the key to making our new ways of working work is to trust our people, trust ourselves, and trust really works both ways, right? It's by an employer to an employee, as well as from an employee to the employer, right? So if the employer has entrusted you with the flexibility of working from home, then we need to honor that and ensure that we're just not we don't fall off the radar. We're still delivering what is required of us day in, day out. Another key takeaway from our end is that the well-being of our employers is a priority. It is super, super important to ensure that your employees are being looked after, even while they're not physically in front of you. The very fact that we've all been forced out of the offices, we've all been forced out of our conventional work environments, and everything's essentially virtual right now, still means that the well-being of our employees is a priority. So I think there's been a huge pivot in the way we are doing employee engagement, the way we're doing like check-ins between different tiers of the management, and all of these are to basically check the pulse of how people are coping mentally, emotionally, physically. Some people have gotten sick over the last week. Some people have gotten depressed because they haven't been able to leave their homes. Some people probably don't live in very comfortable environments, which is why they need to go to the office to as a form of escape. So well-being it's not just limited to making sure that they have their salaries and stuff on time. It's also really making sure that you're speaking to your employees, you're checking in on them on a very empathetic and a very personal level. So those are what I would refer to as three takeaways as a leaders at this point. So for as long as you understand that your people are agile, you trust them, and you genuinely look forward, or rather look into their being, then it's definitely a path to a successful work environment although remotely. Um, when it comes to making sure that work is so for an industry like ours, and I think a lot of e-commerce industries, we aren't impacted. I mean, like it's business as usual. Business continues to grow for us, and it's been a very busy time. And because we're all working from home and not able to, just run up to each other and just rock up at someone's desk to run them through something, it's very important that we keep our communication effective. And I think the four areas that we need to look into when it comes to communication is, number one, it says communicate, communicate, communicate here. What we really mean is like over communicate. So if you need to like talk to someone about something, or like we're usually emailing or using like a internal work office chat, you need to make sure that your communication is super simple, it is clear. When it comes to leadership, you need to be very decisive, because when you make a decision and you decide to run in a certain direction, it's important that all hands are on board and everyone's working towards the same mission, right? But then again, because of the pandemic, like things have not been as crystal as they were before. So what is our goal today may not be our goal tomorrow. We may have to sort of like take a slight detour. And when that does happen, I think compassion is very, very important. So when it comes to communication, you need to over communicate. Communication needs to be simple. It needs to be clear. We need to be decisive and unanimous or even if it's not unanimous, we need to reach a decision and work towards it together. And we all need to be compassionate with each other right now, because there's a lot going on, and everyone needs to understand that people deal with things very differently and process things very differently. So, and the fact that you're not able to see the person, you're not able to read facial expressions, etc. It's very, very important that we take a step back and assess everything from an objective perspective, instead of just going in and pushing. I mean, there are times that we'll need to push, but there are also a lot of times that we will just need to take a step back and be compassionate about everything. So those are basically our 4 steps to improve overall communication effectively. What really is the new norm? I guess some of us have been out, some of us, a lot of us have like seen stuff. I mean, with the recovery MCO in place, people are driving. If you drive by the restaurant, you'll see that there are more patrons. I mean, my brother recently went and got a haircut, and he had posted like an Insta story, and I realized that the guys, our hairstylists, were all in scrubs and stuff, right? So that really is like the new norm. I haven't gone to get a haircut yet, because I just think it's super stressful to be out there getting a haircut while my hairstylist is dressed as a surgeon. So I guess I'll probably just wait for it a bit more. But yeah, going into the new norm, these are things that we all know. Like for instance, temperature screening and registrations. Like for foodpanda, for instance, we have this thing. We have a special. Some restaurants do this as well. When you arrive at a restaurant and your temperature is slightly higher, they'll probably ask you to wait in a sort of like a holding area while you cool down a little bit before they let you into the restaurant. We have physical and social distancing measures in place. So we've got like split working arrangements, so team A, team B. The home remains as the primary office. At the office, for instance, we have closed areas where people are just basically, employees are not allowed to cross a certain line, because those areas are just reserved for a certain group of people in the event there's a need for them to assemble. Going down to face-to-face meetings with external parties, that's basically been, we minimize it as much as possible. Everything's been moved online, so it's a huge pivot. We move everything's done virtually as much as possible. But also a lot of our business requires us to like meet with vendors, make sure that our restaurants are doing well on the website and on the app. So while that is happening, our employees, our frontliners, they're all advised to make sure that they have all of the recommendations and steps endorsed by the government in place. So like your mask, your hand sanitizers, etc. We go into like reusing masks and disposing used masks. We have like an area in the office where so at our office, for instance, there's a big box with masks for everyone to reach into at the moment they arrive at the office. Reusing old masks is not encouraged. We also have like a dedicated area for us to all dispose used masks. Our riders are all given masks as well, and they've all been given hand sanitizers as well to ensure that they're protecting themselves as well as our customers. We were not large gathering and group meetings of more than 10 people. It's at an all-time, it's minimized right now. If should there be a meeting with more than 10 people, then it's all done virtually. And even if it's like 5-6 people, we it's not something that we encourage at this point. Random stuff like staggered lunch hours and food management, so we try and like avoid having. So at foodpanda we do a lot of employee engagement activities at the office itself, where food is provided for and stuff, but looking at the situation right now, we've cut those things out. Everything's pre-packed. Even when it comes to lunch and stuff, it's not encouraged that employees go out and eat together. And so people usually take like rotations to go out for lunch if they're going out. But I think what's most advisable and what we encourage is for people to just bring their food from home and eat at either their desks or like at a pantry area, because we have to always remain physically distant at this point. So foodpanda looks at, as I had mentioned earlier, our employee well-being is very, very important, not just with regards to making sure that their wages and stuff are paid on time, but it's also very important that people remain engaged while being apart from each other, if that makes any sense. So here are a bunch of things that we've done, throughout the last couple of weeks. Our organizational culture team is amazing, and our employees are just equally amazing. Like everyone wants to step up to this, everyone wants to be a part of this, everyone wants to come out and help each other, and they know that everyone is aware that what they're doing is going to impact their colleagues who they're very connected to in one way or the other. So we had an employee who came up and decided that she was going to teach everyone how to stay home, not leave your house, but be able to like make aromatherapy scented oils with ingredients that are already existent in your house. So we did that one evening together. Our organizational culture team sent out, like it was Mother's Day. So a lot of key things took place throughout the last couple of weeks, right? Like Mother's Day, for instance, this weekend, it's going to be Father's Day. So for Mother's Day, all mothers in foodpanda Malaysia received like bouquets with, personalized cards. We also have this thing called the Movement Control Olympics. So MCO Olympics, where teams basically challenge each other. So there were weekly themed challenges, which individual departments took part in. Super interesting time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, right now my the commercial team of foodpanda Malaysia is leading, and the finance is following very closely behind. At the start of Ramadan, we also came to Ramadan and Hari Raya during the period of the lockdown this year in 2020. So to make things, to start stuff off on a sweet note for employees, we sent everyone. Every employee received like a box of Dunkin' Donuts, for them to like break fast with, assuming they were with their families or friends or whoever. We had some nice yoga sessions, workout sessions. I think there was a session which was conducted by another employee whose name is Joshua. He taught us all how to bake a no-bake cheesecake. That was great. And this one's one of my favorites. Her name's Karen. She's an amazing cook. She taught us how to make I think a couple of pretty interesting chicken dishes. I participated in one of them as well. I think there was a day that she made chicken curry. So I made some chicken curry while I was watching her. She also went on to like make biryani and chicken varwal, so it's been a pretty fun time. These are just a number of things that we've done throughout the last couple of weeks, but I think almost every other week there's been an engagement activity, more than one activity a week, in fact. So yeah, so well-being of your employees is just not limited to the salaries or like whether or not they're doing their work. It's also very important to see how we're making things fun for them. Going back to the new norms again at foodpanda, it's pretty much the same as what I had mentioned earlier. So if you've been out, any one of the listeners today who are watching this broadcast, if you've been out, you'd realize that there'll be hand sanitizers and everywhere. You'd have to register with using your phone via QR. There's physical distancing, meaning you're not able to like sit directly beside your whoever you're with. But it is very important that we follow all of these measures that are in place right now. So foodpanda, the administration's team has worked very, very hard to get the office up and running, to ensure that the safety of all of our employees are at the forefront of its main priority. So we've got like measuring tapes all over the place. We've got like these labels on chairs. We have like hot desks, meaning like people are not allowed to sit on like certain desks. And with the team A, team B split rotation, we're just really, really making sure that employees are looked after. And I believe this is pretty much the same with any other organization which has the well-being of its employees like at the forefront of the business. What's very important here, so everything else is as was mentioned earlier, but what's very important here is the protection of our frontliners. So our biggest group of our frontliners would be our riders. I mean, a lot of us would have noticed that at the very height of COVID in Malaysia, and while at a time when none of us were allowed to leave the house at all, if you stood at your window, you probably have only seen like foodpanda or other food delivery providers like on the streets, right? So their protection is of utmost importance to all of us. We have an office for all of our riders. They've all been given masks. They've been given sanitizers. They've also the logistics team sends out frequent communication to all of them to ensure that they are washing like the bags that we use to deliver our food, and keeping personal as well as the hygiene of the vehicle at ultimate. And that's the priority. And as far as their safety is concerned, we've looked at their insurance schemes. We've looked at their SOXO benefits, and it's across the board, right? So temperature checks. Making sure everything that we do to look after our consumers and our customers, it's basically the same treatment for our frontliners as well, because they are the core of our business, and their well-being is very important to us. So that's pretty much it. Our lessons would definitely be, to communicate clearly, to be very compassionate, and to put the well-being of our employees and our team at the forefront of everything. So foodpanda maintains that the home remains as your primary office until things, while we observe what trends are like and how things go on to settle. So the home is your primary office. The office is now open with physical and social distancing measures in place. So it is an avenue. Should an employee feel like they need to go to the office, they can go to the office. That's pretty much it for us right now. Like it's Father's Day this weekend, and all of the fathers at foodpanda have begun receiving their little personalized mugs and stuff, which we've prepared for all of them. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what's happening at foodpanda Malaysia right now. So I'm gonna open the floor to questions. Pearl, if you're there, and we're good to go.
Hi, I'm back. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ajay, for the presentation.
No worries.
It's interesting. It's really interesting on how activities done
Yeah,
in the
I think the
foodpanda.
activity. Yeah, so I think the activities are like to make sure that people are remaining, people remain engaged and stuff. But like the reality is also that Foodpanda understands that coronavirus, like COVID-19, has not only impacted people in terms of their jobs, but it's also like an emotional state, right? So it's emotional, it's mental. So it's very important that we look at it on all fronts.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
really great. Okay, so let's wait for a while to see if there's any question posted in.
Sure. Do you have
So
any questions? I'd be happy to take your questions while we
yeah,
wait.
so everyone, if you have questions, you can just post it in the chat, and then we will go through it. All right. So okay. Okay. Do we have question coming in? Just allow me to check it for you. Yeah, going to take a few seconds. Okay. All right, let's put this up. Right. So during this pandemic, the rider who's in frontline face higher risk, and some might choose not to work. So as a leader, what are some of the things that have been done to ensure that the rider feels safe?
Okay. It's a very good question, Crystal. Crystal, thank you. So when I started my presentation, I explained that Foodpanda has more than 20,000 riders on our who basically run the show for us. And yes, we have had riders who've decided they don't want to work, or riders who've basically just said that, yeah, it's not safe because I have like kids and like a family and stuff, right? Foodpanda completely respects this, and we understand it. We do not, it's not imposed that no, you have to go out and work or anything. There's nothing like that. It is an option. So basically it works it's a gig economy. And if a rider feels that they want to work, they basically come up. We provide them with the opportunity to continue to make like a livelihood during this time. And to support them, we provide them with masks, gloves, sanitizers. We provide them with thing like a to-do and not to-do list and stuff. And the moment an employee is basically not feeling well, or something's not right, the rider can go get tested immediately, and that's also looked after by Foodpanda. So this is quite a big commitment to the number, especially given the number of people that we have reporting who basically work as riders with us. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Crystal.
Okay, Crystal, can you comment if that answers your question? Okay, we have another question while waiting for Crystal.
Yeah.
There you go. In your opinion, what is the new norm for a workplace moving forward?
Hey, Atika. So in my opinion, the new norm for the workplace moving forward, at least until the end of 2020, would be, I think your homes will all remain as your primary office. It will remain as your primary workplace. And when you do go to the office, it's more of like, it's sort of like an option, right? So the office is an option, at least for an industry like ours. The office is an option. Should you need to print something, or you need to have you just need to have a face-to-face meeting, or you just need to get out of the house for a while, then the office is an option. But your home will remain the primary office.
Oops.
Sorry, did you guys lose me?
Okay, I did lose you for a while.
Okay. So I think, in my opinion, that really is what the new norm of workplaces or any sort of social places is going to be moving forward.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. Atika, does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
that's it.
All right. And we have another question. Okay. How do
Yeah,
you
I
feel
think that
about it when you have to pick
yeah.
up something new that you're not familiar with during this pandemic?
Oh wow, I think that's a really good question, Theo. Very, very good question. So I think how I feel about having to pick up something new during this pandemic, I actually feel very, very lucky that I've been given an opportunity to upskill while things are so bad across the world, right? So the fact that I think to me, I've just looked at it as like it's a great opportunity. I've been able to like stay. I'm safe. I'm at home, and I'm being given an opportunity to learn something new to perform better in my job. So yeah, it's very, very important that everyone is open and receptive to picking up something new, because at the end of the day, when you learn something new, it is you're upskilling yourself. And so I feel great about it. I feel fantastic.
All right. I hope that answers your question. Um, Thank you for that. That's another question by Rina. Would you say Foodpanda is a more task-oriented or people-oriented company when it comes to leadership? Does it affect the working experience of the workers?
Okay, so Rina, I think the so if you looked at my presentation earlier, you would have seen that Foodpanda looks at the employee well-being. The well-being of our employee is at the forefront of the business, right? However, because it's also a business which continued as usual despite everything that was happening, so I would say it's a myth. It's a misc. It's not 100% a people-oriented company. Neither is it 100% task-oriented, because I think we need both of these to intertwine for there to be a successful and a positive ecosystem. So there are expectations which need to be met. However, we are also very, very empathetic and compassionate with when it comes to our people. So as a manager, I would tell my guys that, hey guys, these are what I need. These are the things that I need, but I'm not going to be like, I need it now. I'm not going to be like, just because we're all working from our homes, I don't expect you to be. Well, there are core hours that we have established within departments, and everyone needs to be online at a particular time. But we're also very, very cognizant of the fact that yes, sometimes some people don't see their messages, or sometimes your internet's just really bad. I mean, throughout like the last couple of weeks, the internet was just super bad for a lot of people, right? Because I guess everyone's just at home using the Wi-Fi and stuff. So it is a mix of both. It is task and people oriented. Does it affect the working experience of the worker? I think it gives the employer, it gives the employees a very, very wholesome working experience, in my personal opinion. Yeah.
Awesome. Right, coming up next. Here we go. Given the new normal, will Foodpanda continue implementing contactless delivery, or how are we making sure that the safety of the riders and the customers?
So I think contactless delivery has become sort of like the foundation of like any form of delivery right now. So in fact, not only Foodpanda, all other service providers are basically subscribing to this. If anything, this is the new norm. So yes, the contactless delivery is always going to be it's always going to be an option, because people just want to be safe at all times, right? Even if we're going to the grocery store right now, you got your gloves, you got your mask and stuff, because you just don't want to touch anything. So contactless delivery will always, always, always be an option. And I think a lot of people are subscribing to it. It is the new norm. Just the way you have like the QR codes and hand sanitizers everywhere, like contactless delivery is essentially your new normal.
That's great. Let's see if we have more questions.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay, here you go. What is your view on the impact of the MCO as for job employment or job recruitment? How does it affect foodpanda and your view in general as well?
My view on the impact of the movement control order as for job employment or recruitment. How does it affect foodpanda and my view in general? Okay, so I think this is a very, very good question, Kitaro, but it's also a very open-ended question, right? So as we know, across the world, people are affected. And while there are a large number of people who are affected, there are also people who are not affected, who business has been running as usual for, right? So for instance, I know I know people who've had like pay cuts and who've been retrenched from their roles. But I also know people who basically said that the last couple of weeks have been the craziest time of their lives. I for one I fall into the second bracket, right? Because it's business as usual for me, and it's been a very, very busy time for me, right? At the probably the first few weeks, we didn't know when to log out, and we were probably working until like 10, 11 o'clock at night, because you're just at home and you're just like replying emails, you're just making sure everything is ready. So I think the impact of the MCO on employment and recruitment is two-pronged. For some people very slow, and then for some industries it's business as usual. We are continuing to hire and like grow. um, it is a difficult time on all industries as a whole, but there are also industries which are thriving right now. So and industry and something like e-commerce, or like something like Foodpanda, for instance, is a company which continues to employ and recruit. And then there are some companies which have had no choice but to let go of people. Yeah, so that's my view in general.
Mhm. Thank you.
If yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Go on. Do you want to say something?
Um, I no, I think what's most important is, like, if anyone's looking for a job or whatever, then they need to be open to looking at industries which are excelling right now. And by excelling, I don't mean that it's not impacted by the pandemic, because this pandemic has impacted everyone. Although I'm continuing to grow, I'm still impacted, right? But it's business as usual, which is what I mean to say. So let's look in that. It's a pivot. You look into those into that direction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. Let's see, do you have more questions? Hold on. Right, here you go. During yeah, another question from Crystal. During
Good.
this pandemic, students and teens might be interested to take up part-time jobs, and Foodpanda is one of the top priorities, top choices. So, what are your opinion towards this, and any advice to
I Absolutely. I think it is, like I said earlier. So some industries are growing, some industries continue to hire, and Foodpanda is definitely one of those industries, one of those companies, right? So I think my advice to you is go for it. Like, don't even second guess it right now, because if you're keen and you're interested to take up a part-time job and it's something that you have never tried before, it's something that you're just completely foreign to, then don't second guess yourself right now. Because as much as COVID-19 has like slowed us down in a lot of ways, it's also given us an opportunity to upskill and discover something new about ourselves, learn something new in this time, right? And the only way that you're going to be able to learn something new is by trying something new, right? I mean, Instagram and TikTok will show you like people have been baking banana breads and God knows, making dalgona coffee, and all of those things are new things, right? It's not something that we did before. It's not something that we woke up in the morning and did in 2019, right? We didn't wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to make dalgona coffee today. But like, because of coronavirus, everyone's baking banana bread, like making dalgona coffee, like doing all these things. So it's a good time for you to try something new, definitely. So if you're interested in an opening, look look up the job portals, look at what's available. Do not be discouraged if you don't know how to do something, because foodpanda is the sort of organization where we want to help people, and we want to be able to provide you with a platform where you can um, learn something new, and we're more than happy to show you the ropes. So go for it. I would say students especially, like I mean, I know of people, I know of for instance, I know of a pilot who was retrenched during this period, right? We know the aviation industry has been terribly impacted. So I know of a pilot who's been retrenched, and this guy reached out to me and he says like, hey Ajay, I know you're the head of HR at foodpanda, and I'm just wondering if there's an opening, right? If there's an opening for me to come on board foodpanda. I've never worked in e-commerce before, but I don't have a job right now, and it's a good time for me to try something new. And we're talking about a guy who probably used to earn, I don't know, maybe like 20,000 ringgit every month flying as a pilot, right? And then boom, he doesn't have a job anymore. But he's not demotivated by the fact. I mean, of course, it's upsetting, right? Losing 20,000 ringgit on a monthly basis is not an easy thing. But he's also like, okay, what's next? Now this has happened. I'm not going to like stay down forever. What's next? What's the kind of industry that I can go into right now? So he explored an opportunity with foodpanda. Like he thought he wanted to become a rider because he has a bike, and he's like, I can be a rider. And to me that is just so commendable, because he's not like thinking about like, oh, I used to be a pilot, how can I become a rider? Because I think no job is too big or too small for anyone right now. So if there's something you're interested in, go for it. You have my 100% endorsement to try something and everything new right now. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. It sounds really supportive of
Yeah.
foodpanda to help people. I think a lot of people will get motivated by this. Okay, so it's almost time. So before I would like to close off, Mr. Ajay, do you have anything that you want to add on here?
I think it's very important just to conclude. I think it's super important that we all understand. I think a lot of people have, from my experience, a lot of people have taken this very personally, like, oh, why is this happening to me, right? But take a step back and just realize that this is not happening to you in particular. This is happening to the world right now. It is how we're going to look at this. Of course, it's easier for some people, more difficult for the other, but really it's been a couple of months now, things are beginning to look up. And we can't remain down forever. So take a step back, reassess the situation, look at what your best options are, and move towards that. A lot of it's more of like maybe an Asian or like conditioning where, oh no, I need to be a professional, or I need to be uh, I studied a particular subject, therefore I can only work in that particular industry. But this is not a time for that right now, right? So I've given you an example of like the pilot who is exploring an opportunity to work with foodpanda. I'm really just saying, what I'm trying to say is like, it's a time of pivot. It's a time of a new norm altogether. And it's very important that we have a mindset shift here and know that, bigger picture, it's time to look at the bigger picture right now. Yeah. So for students, if you're studying, like, I don't know, if you're studying law, for instance, I went to law school, right? And I primarily deal with like employment laws and policies. I work in an organization which is thriving right now. But I have fellow law school people who are impacted, right? But what's important is that, yeah, so I went to law school. I have a law degree. But right now, assuming I don't have my job in the legal industry, then what else can I do? So the question that we all need to be very
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Ajay. I think it's breaking. The video is slightly breaking. So, okay, no worries about it. Oops.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
I think, so I think just to conclude once again, like pivot, like mindset change, look at it from a different lens, and do not be demotivated, because this is really a temporary setback. And during this downtime, let's see how we can upskill, and what are the new things you can learn, and propel yourself forward. Yeah. So that's it from me, Pearl.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ajay. I think that is very supportive, very informative. I think all of us benefit from this, from your presentation. So I would like to thank you. I will represent Sagi College Kuala Lumpur to thank you for your selfless sharing. Okay, thank you for your time as well to do this sharing with our students and everyone here. Right.
I'm glad. Thank you for having me on the call, on the talk today.
Thank you. So I'm going to remove you now. Is that fine for you?
Yes, absolutely. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ajay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. Hi everyone. Okay, just stay on 2 more minutes. Okay, I have something to share with you. So before I share my stuff, I'm just gonna share my screen for you. All right, I'm not sure if you can see this. Yep, I have a feedback form. Okay, I have a feedback form for everyone. So could you all please kindly go onto this feedback form and then give us some feedback. Okay, so what are we going to do with this feedback form is that we're trying to improve ourselves. We're trying to bring something more related. I mean, try to prepare talks more related to your needs. Okay, so go onto the feedback form, tell us how did we do, and then do comment on what are the future talks they are looking for. Okay, so yeah, let me go on to comment section. Very informative talk. Yeah, it's really informative. It's really informative. So new normal. Yes. Let me see. Did I miss something? Feedback form. Yeah. So if you have questions for me, you can just put it. So Crystal asked if there's a certificate for this. I have to check with the one who in charge of this. So Crystal will get back to you a little later about certificates. All right, I'm sorry for that. I don't have that information for now. Right, so I don't have anything else to talk. So if you have done your feedback form, you can leave. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us today. I hope it's useful for you, it's helpful for you. So as Mr. Ajay has mentioned earlier, don't be demotivated, try on something and upskill yourself, right? So I'm gonna stay on for another few seconds, okay, to wait for your feedback. If not, you can leave now. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye. Okay. Few more seconds. All right, people, I'm going to end this now. Okay, thank you for your time, everyone. Okay, just a little advertisement. We are having free yoga session this Sunday, 3 o'clock. If you are interested, please go to Sagi College Kuala Lumpur Student as well Facebook and look for more information. Right? Thank you. Bye bye. Bye everyone.